Hello, my name is Griffin Bray, and for the past 2 years I've worked with Dr. Oren Gelderloos to look at the vascular plant composition of ecosystems on the Rouge River floodplain that runs through our campus. Floodplains are natural features of river systems that are built up over time by the deposition of sediments that are carried in the floodwaters when the river overflows its banks. The different characteristics of these sediments results in the formation of different landforms and physiographic ecosystems in the floodplain. In the Rouge River floodplain on campus, we identified 7 of these ecosystems, namely a deposition bar on the inner meander of the river, a high natural levee along the banks, a flat first bottom with some old relic levees in there, a back swamp further away from the river, an 8-foot terrace or abandoned floodplain, and an area that is seasonally flooded with standing water. Our goal with this study was to identify the composition and distribution of the flora in the area. And to do this, we first identified, counted, and measured the diameter at breast height of all mature trees in the floodplain. We then established 2 to 3 20 by 10 meter quadrats or study plots in each ecosystem, identified and counted the woody plants in them, and identified the ground cover diversity from 10 randomly chosen 1 square meter plots. We analyzed the trees in the ecosystems with the Simpson's Diversity Index, and we compared the composition of woody plants between the ecosystems with the cosine similarity coefficient, and did a similar test with the Jacquard similarity coefficient for the ground cover plants. The results of our tree survey showed 4,246 individual trees representing 39 different species. By far the most common tree was black maple, which had almost 6 times as many trees as the second most common tree, silver maple. Looking at the biomass or the relative dominance of the trees in the floodplain though, although black maple is still our most dominant tree, it only has 1.7 times the relative dominance of silver maple, meaning we have many black maples, but they are much smaller than the larger, more dominant silver maples. Looking at Simpson's Diversity Index for these woody plants in the different ecosystems, none of our ecosystems had lower than a 0.43 diversity index, and many of them were over 0.5, which is average. The highest was the back swamp with a 0.81, meaning it is a very biodiverse area. In our ground cover survey, we identified 119 species of ground cover plant throughout all 7 ecosystems. If you were to pause here and look at this chart though, you would notice that there are very few ground cover species shared in the top 5 for any ecosystem. Now, the ground cover vegetation percent coverage varied widely between ecosystems, with the lowest percent being in the annual flood area with just 4% of the square meterage covered by plants, and the highest in the deposition bar, with 71.3% coverage. Comparing the composition and structure of woody plants between the ecosystems, you'll note that there is a wide range of percent differences between the ecosystems. Some, such as the bottom in the annual floodplain, have 100% difference between them, whereas others, like the bottom in the old levee, are fairly similar with only a 30% difference. A similar comparison of the ground cover vegetation between the ecosystems showed a high degree of difference between all ecosystems. No ecosystem showed less than a 60% difference in the species composition. The greatest differences occurred between the seasonal standing water, which had almost 100% difference compared to every other ecosystem. Now, based on these results, we can conclude that the Rouge River floodplain is a very diverse area, with 46 woody plant species and 101 herbaceous species being found in the floodplain in our study. These data are very important for understanding the area, especially in terms of ecological health. We can see which species are good quality species that help support the area and which ones are invasives and should be removed. It also helps us to understand the future trajectory of the area. For instance, the smaller black maples will over time become more dominant, and the larger, more dominant trees may decrease in their dominance as there are fewer to replace them. These results also help us make more educated management decisions on how we want to continue to manage the ecological health of the area. So in conclusion, the data shows that the floodplain is a highly biodiverse area with a wide variety of different ground cover and woody plant species. This does raise some questions for future research, such as what factors influence the species distribution in the floodplain, what factors influence the ground cover abundance on ecosystems, and how will the forest structure and species composition change over time. Hopefully this study will provide a baseline that we can use for studies to come in the future years. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions, please send them to me. My email is listed in the abstract. Once again, thank you very much for watching and enjoy your day.